Hello and welcome to another Hollie's Hotspurs Live. Unfortunately, for the first time this season, I've got to talk about a loss and one that was a bit pants, shall we say. It wasn't fabulous, was it? But tonight I've got some amazing guests. It's a channel first, as we've got a former Spurs player on the channel. Ramon Vega, how are you?
Hollie, hi. Very good, very good. Very glad to be on your channel for the first ever player, to be honest with you. Good, very good for you.
No, I really appreciate it. Thank you for agreeing to come on, shall I say. It's just disappointing we've got to talk about a bloody loss in it. But there we go. It's always the way. It's
well,
my luck.
At Spurs, I think you got used to it with that stuff, you know.
That is very true. When you put it like that, I mean, I feel a bit better.
Listen, let's not be too harsh. We had 3 games in a row. We won, and we were at the top, the league. And I think we enjoyed that for a while whilst the international games were going on, you know. I think the reality came back straight away with Crystal Palace, you know. But listen, we had also had a lot of injuries as well. So it's not an excuse, but at the same time, listen, we don't like to lose. I definitely don't.
I mean, that's all of us. I think that's and then we chose a team that decide to be up and down all the time. It's always the way, isn't it? But no, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We also have Formz, how are you on this fine Monday evening?
Well, could be better. Could be talking about a win, but no, I'm all good. I'm buzzing to be here. Thanks for having me back.
Right, cheers for joining again. And we also have Finley. Finley, how are you this evening?
Yeah, I'm all good. Still not over Saturday, to be honest with you, but at least we get to go through it in some detail. But yeah, nice to be back on the channel.
Cheer up, Finley. Smile. Listen, it's only a game. It's not like you know. Come on, I know we went over the weekend to the church. We lost a little bit, but that's not happening again now. Hopefully not. You know.
Listen, you're one of the very few human beings that can say they won a trophy with Tottenham Hotspur in the last 30 years.
Yeah.
So you know what that's
yeah,
like.
Exactly.
I'm not sure I'm happy about it or embarrassing about it.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. No, listen, I'm definitely not that too proud to, you know, won something Tottenham Hotspur. It's not every year equation, let's call it that, be honest here, you know, and still today we're talking about it. So I'm definitely very, very proud, and I can look at my medal every day. That's the beauty about it.
Nice.
Nothing else counts. You can say good, bad. I don't really care. I just show you the medal. That's the most important part. You lose legendary, you know.
That's it.
So,
tell us. Oh, go on.
I was just going to say, I mean, sports analysis in the chat said, "Are you ready to start against Chelsea for us?"
Goodness me, let me pump a little bit. Hold me up.
We could do with you at the back actually.
5 minutes maybe maximum, and I have to go back to the bench. To be honest, or maybe understand. To be honest, from fitness point of view, not even a chance. To be honest, here the speed and the fitness you need to be today at the Premier League. I think that's maybe 20, 30 years ago, but not today. To be honest, you. I'm happy even to clean the boots. That definitely just to be having the atmosphere there. To be honest, you know, and cheer them up, the team, you know. But no, definitely not ready for that. Love to, but not ready.
Not ready, but no. Let's go crack on with this. I mean, obviously there was a lot of changes, like you said, Ramon. Obviously with the injuries and the international break. But we saw with this geezer behind me that I feel like is bringing bad juju at the moment with Harry Winks, because obviously he slipped in, and we didn't have really a creative midfielder. Now, Ramon, I'll come to you first. What's your kind of takes on Harry Winks? Do you feel that Nuno maybe made a bit of an error playing or starting Harry Winks, or do you think maybe it was the only best option to go for against Palace?
I think from Nuno's point of view, the options were very limited, and I think because, I'm not in the training session every day, I don't see the kind of the attitude and the fitness level some of the players he has for the weekend, So I'm assuming, knowing Nuno how it works himself with the assistant coach, they're really looking into the whole data, how the players are actually, from the fitness point of view, the mental point of view, if they're ready to go into such a game as such, So I think he selected through that data he's been received during the week, with the very limited kind of options to play. So I think from Nuno's point of view, Winks was definitely the option at the time. Was it the right? Maybe potentially not, or maybe Winks was the equation too big for him, because the responsibility suddenly is very huge, because the big players, Son and so were not there, were pretty much carrying quite a lot on their shoulders at Tottenham, But at the same time, it's a very good experience, because these are the games where you grow as a player. These are the games where, even as a negative kind of, let's call it, game in terms of losing, I think it's also very, very, very good, positive in terms of you learning from such negative games as well,
I think it's past the point of learning for Winks, though. Like, we see... No, but I used to love Harry Winks. He used to be one of those sentimental players for me that you look at, you go, you dreamed of playing for Spurs, you're playing for Spurs, I love it, let's have it. The passion, it's unreal. But he does the same things time and time again. There's no creativity, there's minimal vision, and the passes are slow and sideways and backwards, and and Harry Winks will slot in when we don't have many other options, and we'll either take a defeat or we'll play not very well, or he'll come off early, and you can say he'll learn from it. I don't think he's the type of player now that can learn from those types of things that he's doing, because he does it again and again and again.
Yes, I may be right with you if he does it again, but at the same time, there's a consolation when you're playing in a team where it's quite a lot of injuries there. Don't forget, international games were also disrupted by the 3 South American guys not coming, where I will come back to that in a minute as well. I think they're kind of disgraceful from players' point of view, federations, how they treated Tottenham Hotspurs as a club point of view as well. They're not having them available for the weekend, but they're quite important. Some of them also pay quite a lot of money this summer as well, not to have them. I think it's also kind of a question mark to look into. But going back to things, I think the progressive side point of view, I agree with you. I have not seen him progress at this time, or at the point where he could put a point to the game and say, listen, that's me, that's my design, that's my kind of signature. It has not. He's not progressing at that point of view. So that kind of thing, it's potentially a question mark over himself personally. But these games are also, at the same time, he has to question himself. Is he ready to progress or not?
Fair enough.
It is very interesting. I mean, that's the thing. I think towards the end of the first half, it kind of went very flat. And I was thinking to myself, no, you've got to try something different now. And I think, Finley, that's just kind of something you're all screaming out for. I don't think it takes a tactician to realise, okay, we're a bit flat now. We need to mix it up. Maybe put a creative player on. Maybe put the likes of Gil on. So I'll come to you, Finley. Do you think maybe at half-time, Nuno maybe should have mixed it up if it wasn't necessarily progressing the way the game should have?
No, I definitely think so. I think I said when I remember saying when the team come out as well, maybe... going back to the whole Winks thing, maybe drop Dele a little bit deeper because, he can play there, and maybe put Brian Hill in the front three as well alongside Kane and Lucas. Maybe that could have been a different option. But I think you're pretty much spot on. Like, at half-time, it was... I don't think we had correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we had a shot in the first half. I could be wrong. But I don't remember one anyway. But it just felt like we were just kind of coasting. We were just kind of letting Palace have the ball, we talk about Winks, and all you have to look at is Conor Gallagher in that game. For me, he was unreal. He's probably man of the match, to be fair. I think he got it. But he was incredible. Like, he was, dictating the play, always wanted to make things happen. And, when you just, even if you go back 3 years, that's what Winks used to do for us when he first broke through into the team like Formz said. Everyone remembers that game against Real Madrid. And it's just not been there. It's just not been there since then. But I think you're, pretty much spot on. I think an Ndombele or Brian Hill would have certainly changed the game at half time. But then again, I'm sure we'll get into it. But then the red card, 20 minutes after the second half started, just changes it again completely, and we're back to square one again.
And it is good you've mentioned that, because that was the thing. I think obviously losing Dyer in those opening minutes in the first half kind of really set the pace of what the game was going to be like. So Formz, I'll come to you. Obviously, with everything that happened with Eric Dyer, I think that was a major blow because he has been playing quite well. And we'll obviously get onto Sanchez and everything, which Ramon's already mentioned. But do you think maybe losing Dyer that early on kind of unsettled the back line as well before everything else happened afterwards?
For sure. I mean, look, I was at the game, and when I say it was probably the worst away day I've ever had in my life, just because of, first of all, I live in Hertfordshire, so first of all, the journey, second of all, the result, and third of all, the journey back. So it wasn't great, but being there, it gives you this you get to see things that cameras don't necessarily pick up. And Dyer in that first 15 minutes, playing next to Tanganga, who obviously we'll talk about in a sec. Dyer has this, because he's one of the vets at Spurs now, he's got this influential role when it comes to younger players, especially younger defenders like Tanganga, like your Rodons. So if you're, because he's kind of got to fill that role that Vertonghen and Toby had, because they were the senior ones, and whoever they were playing next to, they'd sort of keep them going, keep them motivated. And Dyer really had that effect on Tanganga in the first half. Dyer played really well. Obviously, he went off. And Tanganga sort of continued to play how he was playing through the rest of the first half. I thought Tanganga had a fantastic first half. When Rodon came on, because they're both relatively inexperienced compared to someone like Dyer, they didn't have that leader on the back line. Obviously, you've got Reguilon, who's still fairly new to the squad. You've got Emerson, who was his debut. There was no leader in that back line to sort of control things. And that's when things started to spiral. Like, you could see, even when the ball was we were on the attack and the ball was well away from us, you could see Dyer sort of talking to his back line and just being that vocal presence that we needed. The moment he went off, you could feel that just disappear. And that was true. And I rate Rodon, I rate Tanganga, but together for the first time, I think it was, there was no, like I say, there was no leader, no influential role. And that's when it just went... Whew.
I mean, yeah, that is spot on. And I come to you, Ramon. Obviously, playing in a back line before, like, do you think that's kind of sentiment? Do you think after Dyer went, that was kind of it? It was a bit like, okay, we've got no senior players, so to speak. They've played in that role. We've got two youngins now. We've got to try and rely on. And like Formz said, Tanganga did play brilliantly well in the first half. He just kind of lost his head with that Zaha incident.
I think that that result, and I think it was a learning process for him as well, to really just try to be cool about it and not really be wound up. Because as a player, I can understand you got all the aggressivity and you want to be showing everybody you'll be part of that, but you also can lose your head very, very quick, suddenly when such small little kind of things happen that will happen with him, I think that's something also to learn for him for the future. That's no doubt. The other part I actually see within the whole group, I think the leadership side point of view has missed quite a lot in that team on Saturday. Relevant now, some of the players potentially like Dyer were, of course, without that, is responsible in a way as a leader to be, because there's more experience of other ones as well. But the youngsters are now young enough as well to take that responsibility on, because you're playing in the Premier League. You're not playing now in the under 18, 19, 21. You're at the Premier League. You have to show you're man enough to take responsibility. However, you age at this, even you're 18, 19, 20, you're in the first team, you're a man and take the responsibility. Will happen, So that part has missed on that side of the eye. Even when Dyer went out, this is coming back to Winks as well. Winks could be, this is the kind of role for him could take into it, that mentality that, okay, wow, all the people Dyer left, what's happening now? I want to have that character, the passion, where they're taking responsibility. Even they risk something. I don't care. They're losing the ball because they risk something about it. But at least they went through it. They're not just passing left, right, backwards, and just kind of that safety net passing where you just don't want to lose the ball or you don't want to make mistakes. I prefer somebody's more aggressive, makes a little bit more mistakes, but that second or third pass suddenly is more determined and actually more productive in the game. That part has missed within the players on the pitch. Irrelevant of the age, are just that leadership and aggressivity has really, really missed. That's something I missed massively.
And it is good you mentioned that, because obviously Crystal Palace came firing out of the box. I thought they were kebabbing literally everyone in the first half. You kind of sit there and think, hang on a minute, John Moss, what are you looking at, mate? But it's true. They seemed they wanted it a bit more than us at the weekend. And it is true you say that. I think a lot of players need to have that bit more aggressive nature within them. So Finley, obviously saying that, I mean, we've talking about some negatives, but I just want to pick on obviously Emerson. It's the first time we've seen him play in that right back role. Do you think that he's going to develop into a great right back that we've kind of, I feel, missed for quite a long time with the likes of Sergio and Doherty? Do you think that this could be the real turning point for Emerson, or do you think there's some worrying points to maybe think about him from his play against Palace?
It's a bit of a hard one to judge, to be fair. Sorry, Ramon. It's a bit of a hard one to judge, to be fair, because you chuck any new right back in who's coming into a new league, new environment against Zaha, who's notorious for rinsing right backs, week in, week out. And, it's going to be pretty hard to judge anybody. And then especially when he has to go into a defence that's reshaped because they're going down to 10 men. I think for me, I'm going to be intrigued to see what happens if he plays against Rennes and he plays against Chelsea. Because he'll then have obviously maybe a different defensive partner, maybe a different whole defence next to him. But he did seem to be. There was a couple of occasions where it kind of all goes back to Winks, and especially the midfield, to be fair, where he was bombing on down the right, and you could just see he was in oceans of space completely. I mean, Formz, you probably saw it more because you was there, but on TV you can kind of see him just like going, like, I'm here, I want the ball, and I'll just get on down the wing.
Yeah,
but the ball just wouldn't go out to him, and I think if you play in the right way that gets the ball out to him and goes, do you know what, right, he'll get on, and then you get Kane into the box, you get Dele making late runs into the box, then maybe you can become that, that attacking right back. And like you say, we've certainly missed since Walker, and we thought we had with Aurier and Doherty, but they've just been the complete opposite.
But that is interesting. Like you say, I think we're all kind of hopeful that Emerson is gonna push on and be that right back we've kind of missed for a long time. But like you said, I just don't think we managed to get ourselves out of the box. And like you said, he did kind of keep Zaha quiet. It was just the fact, obviously, what happened with Tanganga losing his head and going down to 10 men. But as well as that, obviously, Ramon, I'm going to come to you on this one because I kind of know your kind of thoughts on Harry Kane. He was kind of non-existent against Palace, and I don't really know why in a kind of sense. So I'll come to you, Ramon. What are your thoughts on, obviously, Harry Kane's performance against Palace?
Good question. As you just say, so I thought he was not playing. I was always on the bench, to be honest with you, from playing. But at the same time, you can't really place like that where been talked quite a lot over the summer, as we know, everybody, and the level we all talk is the world class. I think these are the games you show the leadership to be world class. To be honest with you, irrelevant of injuries, relevant of young players. This is what I was saying before. I was missing that, and a player like that status has been given as well. Okay. I will expect a little bit more. I know it's coming from an international games. It's always tiring. I know that from my personal experience. When you're coming back for the games from Switzerland, it's a completely different environment. You traveled a lot as well. All of that. But that's winner mentality. If you see it, Ronaldo on the weekend at his age, I'm sorry, it's a different class. Yeah. And that's what makes a world-class player to a very good player in terms of the difference. When you have a team where even you are the only one that's all holding on your shoulders and you make that difference. And that's what I was missing a little bit on the Saturday, irrelevant of the injuries, But again, you can't really blame it just on him. Of course, maybe the supply of balls was limited, as we already realized that before. But again, if we get a world-class play, you have to have that, even in 90 minutes, that small little 5 minutes action will make just a difference. That's it. And I was expecting that, and I was missing that, and that didn't happen from a play like that. I was expecting much more. Let's be honest.
No, and I think most of us, well, all of us, I think, can agree to an extent, because sometimes I see him play out wide, like, mate, what are you doing? Come inside. Yeah. You're that central striker. We need that. Obviously, where we didn't have Sonny, maybe if we had Sonny, but again, we can't use those excuses. A player like Harry Kane, you think he would have turned on the gas when it really mattered. So, Formz, I come to you. I mean, it's kind of hindsight would be a lovely thing if I was to say, Son was playing as well. But do you think maybe Kane also now relies on Son as much as he kind of does himself? Because again, Sonny wasn't there. He went kind of unnoticed, like Ramon said. We didn't even realise he was playing sometimes.
Yeah. I think, look, you've only got the last 2 seasons to look at to see how much Kane has relied on Son with the amount of assists and the positions that Son has allowed Kane to get into and vice versa, because they've got such a good footballing understanding with each other that the chemistry is there, and you could close your eyes and you could know where the other one is on the pitch. I think that they work so well together. I wouldn't go as far as to say that Kane's sort of lost without Son. I feel like Son gives Kane that level of comfort on the pitch to be able to do more things or do less things, because when Son isn't playing, all eyes are on Kane. When Son's playing, all eyes are on both of them. So, and I understand, look, Ramon, you were saying that even in games like this and times like this, it doesn't matter who's playing. If you are a world-class player, you step up. And I agree. And we really didn't see the world class as he has in previous seasons.
I'd definitely say so. Sorry, Hollie.
I won't go as far as that. If it was as bad as that in terms of the dressing room, that you actually very malaised in terms of the pitch, you're not really providing balls to your mate.
Yeah,
I think I wouldn't go as far as that. Listen, I played for a long time. Even I hate potentially a player in the dressing room, but when I'm on the pitch, he's my teammate.
True. Go on. Who did you?
I'll break my ankle for him.
Who did you hate? Give us the exclusive.
To go as far as a kind of a kindergarten style, schoolyard kind of revenge. Oh, I hate you. I'm not going to play the ball. Listen, guys, no way. Well,
Fine.
if I was in the dressing room, I will not accept it. I will just take the guy to the corner and say, listen, you don't play man or go to the school again, you know? No, I don't think that's the issue in that side. There's no doubt that the disrespect side point of view has left some traces behind. Let's be honest about it. You know, the whole saga was absolutely unacceptable. And I said many times, and I stay with that. And the respect point of view was gone at that point. Many that stay because they love him. That's great. That's their opinion. But I have my opinion about it as well, as from men's point of view and from the players' point of view in the dressing room. You know, that definitely left some traces behind. But the players are professional enough as well that when you go on Saturday out, you're playing for the club and you're not playing for Harry Kane. And Harry Kane is not the club. Tottenham Hotspurs always bigger than Harry Kane. And I think this is one thing where Harry Kane has to now realize, yes, I put my hands up, he made the mistake, whatever happens in the summer. He just has to show on the pitch now that he actually really means to play for Tottenham and win something. And from my point of view, my respect will only come if he wins something for Tottenham. He can score 200 goals, I don't really care.
Interesting.
But if he wins a trophy, Ramon Vega is the first to shake his hand and respect him again. Until then, I don't want to talk about anything about goals and world class and everything else. It's very crucial because that's the legacy a club leaves. Look at me. I'm talking 25 years later. I'm here with you talking about a trophy. It's embarrassing to say, be honest with you, because we only 25 years later we're talking about a trophy, second trophy we're done. But if he leaves something with a trophy, then he has both combination, score goals and won something with the club. Where actually Hollie never win the trophy, but still won something with them. That will keep for life, and that's more important than anything, any money he will get to Manchester City or anywhere else. That will keep him alive forever, and that's what I will take the heads up when he's doing that, and he will get my respect back. Until then, he's just another Spurs player.
I get that. I do get that.
And going back to world class, for me, Son is the world class player. Let's go to the point. He is. Yeah. You can see again and again how much that player was missing on that Saturday on the pitch. This guy is a machine. He's a goal scorer. He's serving the players, serving the club. He's just the all-rounder, proper world-class player. And from my point of view, years I've been saying that I don't know why they underestimated that player so much. But for me, he's definitely that one of the best players now in that position. There's no doubt. And you can see he makes a difference with Kane or without Kane. With Kane or without Kane. Man City, just to give you it's Man City, not Crystal Palace, without disrespecting Crystal Palace, But it's Man City. He is the one stand up. But that's for me one of at the moment at Spurs, the world-class player.
Yeah, I agree.
And today, like it's 6 years, isn't it? He's been at the club, and I watched his video just before coming on, actually, of his like time at the club, and you can see he loves it there, and he gives his all to the club. And you just wish that, obviously, all this crap that's happened with Harry Kane, you just hope that this has opened his eyes a little bit. And actually, if he wants to win some trophies, it's not going to be that mega bucks move. It's going to be right here, right now. You put your all into it. And like you said, now that Son's there as well, regardless whether Harry Kane's on the pitch or not, Son's the man that's going to do it. So why not they keep grinding together and hopefully get these trophies over the line? Because like you said, that's a partnership. I know obviously Sonny is maybe the world-class player, but that partnership together, you'd like to think that they are going to do something. And I think if they don't do something at this club with them together, I think it's going to be a major waste in that kind of sense, because
for sure,
that's the thing. We need to actually push on and start, competing for trophies. That's the one thing. But obviously, like we said, I think Saturday was just an absolute mess of all different types of things. Obviously, losing Dyer, the whole Tanganga business. But I think it's the way we come back from this. Obviously, we've spoken about the players that we missed. I know you wanted to touch quickly, Ramon, on obviously the whole debacle of the international FA about Sanchez and that lot not being able to come back to Tottenham. So I'll get your takes on that quickly, because obviously you mentioned it. So what's your kind of like takes on the whole way that Tottenham have kind of been treated with the whole kind of player-wise?
You asking me?
Yeah, sorry.
sorry. It's just got a little bit of stop. I didn't hear the question again. Sorry again.
So obviously you spoke earlier about how the international players have been treated, obviously not being able to come back in time for games. And obviously there was that whole thing with Lo Celso and Romero. So what's your kind of like outlook on it? Are you more towards the players kind of leaning, or can you see where the international organisations have kind of gone with it?
I think this is a two-way kind of responsibility. There's the player. The majority of these games are playing Tottenham Hotspur paid. 90+%, they call it. And I also respect to be an international player. You play for your country, as I've played. But at the same time, not turning back, because potentially your own responsibility as a player, that you have to actually stay back in Brazil or in Argentina because I don't know, whatever happened at that time. Then you have to take responsibility as a player, that you have to be blamed as well. And I think in this case, I think these three players somehow a little bit disrespected as well the club. Yes, the international games are important. I understand that. But at the same time, the club is the one who pays over the majority of the wages in your lifestyle, So come back as soon as possible and give a hand, especially now when so many injuries were there. These guys were needed. Be honest with you, this is why these guys came into this club this summer, because they needed a replacement, they needed some reinforcement into it, and then suddenly in important games like that, they're suddenly not there, and that's a little bit disappointing from the players' point of view, that they're not done more to be there on the weekend.
And that's
my take. And on the other side, I think that the whole federations and the FIFA in this case has not handled this either well. I think it was a disaster, to be honest with you. It was already before the whole World Cup qualification started, was major issues all around. So it was not a clear message or communication with all the federations around the globe. And in this case, it was obviously Argentina-Brazil, a very important game, and knowing what happened with Brazil with COVID-19 and everything else, you need to make sure the communication and the displays are protected in all angles, but also the clubs are protected, these players, and that is not been handled very well. And I think this is also playing to in case FIFA, federations, both of them.
And it is, I think, like you said, it's a two-way thing, and I think communication is the key thing, and it's again kind of slipping through the net. You'd hope in a world pandemic they'd be organised, but seems like they haven't been. And once again, it seems that both parties have kind of fallen short, because it's true, every player wants to play for their international team, but there comes a time you have to actually sit down and be like, hang on a minute, I think my club is probably a little bit more important at the moment when I've just come into this club and I need to try and make my mark, and then you're swanning off to these international games. I don't know what any of you other guys take. Formz, do you want to maybe have a spin at what you kind of think?
I mean, it was just... I mean, Aston Villa didn't help. It really didn't help, because what was like? I feel like in the last minute they went... Wasn't it all Premier League teams decided to unify and say, okay, we're not going to let our players go, and then the last second Aston Villa went, yeah, go on then, you can do it. And because the two Argentines from Villa were going, I reckon they probably convinced Lo Celso, who then convinced Romero to go. I don't even know. It was just one big confusing mess that I still don't really get my head around. And as soon as the players are back from Croatia or wherever the hell they're training, I think it's all going to be absolutely fine, and they'll be back into the squad and whatever. I think it was one of those things that everyone's going to have their own opinion on it, and I don't really know what to say on that. I am annoyed at Romero though. You're right. It's like I've just signed for all this money to this club. There's a huge amount of pressure on me, and they've told me to do something a month after I've signed, and I'm going to completely disobey that and make them fine me within my first 4 weeks of being here. It's a little bit like, it leaves a bit of a sour taste. So I don't really know. I don't know. I want it all to go back to normal and for us to be top of the league again, to be honest.
It's a form. It's the top of the league. It's not so straightforward, mate. We've got the 3 games. We've done it, but that's the beginning of the season. It's a long season, mate. Listen, we are Spurs fans, so we know how to suffer, So,
I think we're masters at that.
We're definitely we're the master. We're Premier League winners, that's for certain. We've got a trophy there.
I like you said that as well. So the only trophy that I've got on mantelpiece.
I think, guys, we need to keep the positivity side still there. Listen, we're coming back from a huge pandemic crisis the last 18 months. Not just in the football, of course. Football kind of takes away the pain for normal people actually struggling on a day-to-day basis from having lost their jobs. The reality check, really the day-to-day. The football players they don't see that too much. I see it, but they're in a little bubble in the same time. And the football clubs keeps away that kind of feeling that's not happening, that pain. But I know for lots of friends of mine were really struggled the whole 18 months, even businesses completely died and everything else. So I feel sorry much for them than anything football players that get the wages, that play their hobby. But for me, that was a hobby on a weekend. But the guys will have Monday to Friday to make sure that you have a lovely weekend. It's struggling to go past, and that's the reality. So coming back into buying players for Spurs, I find actually this transfer window was rude. It was rude. So much money to spend and so much on so much play. 100 million to Manchester City. Some struggle even past a week, and then I just spent 100 million quid on the worst. I would say, I think for years, the worst economic crisis, pandemic. Everybody struggled, government struggles, and then people just spending 100 million quid. That's for me absolutely out of order. Rude.
I never thought of it like that. I've honestly
fans. I know fans that want to buy. Let's buy club and everything. Yes, great, fantastic. But I look at it from the reality check point of view where we are. Everybody. Some are in a very good position potentially. Good luck for them and happy for them. The majority, I'm telling you now, they're not in a great position, and club football is entertaining and it's happy, and that's the good thing about it, But in the same time, let's not be foolish that we have also issue in the real world, and spending 100 million quid plus on players. That's just for me out of order and rude, to be honest with you. Disrespect to the normal person who actually go to the stadium, because it's a people's game. Every single person goes to the stadium that have a job or haven't got a job. For them, Saturday is that kind of distraction to get out of the system, or maybe that frustration during the week because you didn't get a job, or you lost a job either way, you know. And on Saturday you got that football experience, you know, and that's the beauty. That's our responsibility as a player as well, and as a club, to give that fun back to these fans, you know. So yeah, I just wanted to give you that opinion about transfers and fees that I find absolutely rude this transfer period. If in other years when everything is rosy, I don't really care. But this summer, I think most of the Premier League should agree that there is a minimum or maximum spending, and really just focusing on taking care of the fans during this year, even discounting the season tickets, all of that. Because listen, let's be honest, it's expensive to go to the stadium.
Indeed.
So
Very expensive.
and spending 100 million on players but not taking care of the fans who are potentially more loyal. Let's be honest. So, but I want to just give you that kind of, I don't want to go down with the show, but I want to give you the reality check of, that's my opinion about if this summer transfer period. So if Tottenham didn't do as much as we thought was expected, but in the same time, we have to look at in the long term that Tottenham is rebuilding again. Listen, we didn't have done any transfer for a long, long time, you know, until the Champions League final with Pochettino. These 3 years before, there were only youngsters coming through, or hardly no transfers, you know, for 3 years. So can you imagine? We are nearly 3 to 4 years behind on taking players on. It's not going to do in 30 days or 60 days transfer period. No chance. You can go Fabrizio, you can go to no Jesus come down. Nothing will happen in 30, 60 days. I'm telling you that now. So I think you need to give time as well to rebuild. And we've done some good players coming into it. We have kept some quality players as well. And let's keep going the way it is.
Yeah, exactly. And I am really proud that you've come up with that as well, because obviously, as you can tell by the poster behind me, I'm not too happy with the bold egg, as I like to call him, Daniel Levy. And it is true, because it is expensive. I mean, I'm going to my first game, and like since the whole COVID things broke out, and I'm going to the Chelsea game, and even that's expensive. And you're thinking to yourself, I haven't watched football for so long at the stadium, and I've got to pay X amount of money to go watch it. And I know that's obviously the way that the economy's going, but still, it is a bit of a cheek when you haven't watched your team play at the stadium for so long and you're paying all this money. I think the only thing I'm happy with about this transfer window is that we've obviously got a director of football that looks like he knows what he's doing, because he's actually invested in something that can actually sit back and be like, okay, there's some actual potential here this time, rather than throwing some £100 at some people that I'm thinking to myself, I don't think you quite cut it in the Premier League, but there's some substantial there. So Finley, I'll come to you obviously with the last kind of comment on transfer window. What's your kind of thoughts? Are you pleased with the people we've got? I mean, we've already mentioned Hill this evening already. Are you impressed with the dealings we've done this summer?
I am, to be fair. I think, like you said, I think for the first time in a good couple of seasons for me, it seems like there's kind of a clear direction, because, you know, like Ramon alluded to, you know, other teams, you know, City and Chelsea going out and spending X amount of money on certain players. You know, I don't want to be all doom and gloom or whatever, but I don't think we're going to win anything anytime soon. So I think this whole building for the future thing, you know, Galini, Hill, Romero, players like that, you know, Sessegnon coming back off his loan spell. I mean, he seems to be made of glass, but at least he's still back. Just sort of something like building for the future, really. And I mean, it's what we did under Poch, and that worked so well. You know, you see people arguing whether this manager's the right manager already. I mean, that's, you know, that to me is ludicrous, arguing about it over 4 games, but that's some people, I suppose. But I think this window for me has been a pretty good one, because, like you say, I think there's just a clear outline at the club. There's a clear, you know, vision of where certainly Paratici wants to take the club.
Yeah.
You know, if that might not be matched by the powers that be and whoever else, but I think for me it's been slightly more encouraging than, say, last year's transfer window, for example, because I know we signed Doherty and whatever, but that was no really plan for the way I saw it, and obviously that all got torn up when Jose got the chop. But I think Paratici was probably one of the best decisions, the best signings effectively we could have made, because he's just looks like to have come in and just gone, okay, this is the direction I want to take the club. This is the manager I want to get. These are the players I want to get. And he seems to have got the majority of, you know, the targets he had at in the first place.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Formz, I don't know whether you want to add anything to that, if you've got any other ideas?
I feel exactly the same. It was like we were screaming out for a class centre half or an apparent class centre half, and we bought one. We were screaming out for a new right back. We got one. We needed a more attacking player. Why not bring in someone like Brian Hill? He's young. He's got potential. Spain raves about him. So I think yeah, we had a direction, and we signed players in the right positions, and I think we've got relative depth. Obviously now I know that with the Sanchez and Romero being out of the country, and we've got Dyer who's potentially injured for the Chelsea game, and no Tanganga because of the red card. So the depth is looking quite thin in defence. But the point I'm making is we've got relative depth now, which is quite nice to see. Like if we don't have Brian Hill, then we got Mora. If we don't have Mora, we got Bergwijn on the right. And when was the last time we had that many options on the right? Like it's nice to see that we have options. And it's nice to see that Paratici sort of come in and gone, okay, this is the direction we need to go. These are the positions we need to sign. They don't have to be world class. We don't have the world's biggest budget, but let's make a start and see what we can do. And I think he's done well.
I think so too. And that's the thing, like obviously being an Enikauta, you kind of want things to be progressing. I know they're never going to leave because it's Tottenham. They're making enough money, as we so to speak, but you just want to see some progression. And I think getting Don Fabio, as we all like to call him, I think actually shows some intent for once. And I think we've missed that for a long time. So that kind of sense, I'm a bit like, all right, mate, Livy, you can have your job for a bit longer. But that being said, Ramon, we obviously have the Conference League coming up. And we kind of don't want to shock at what happened in the first leg against Paco de Ferreira. So what are your kind of thoughts of that game? Do you think Nuno is going to try and go all guns blazing, get the job done first, and then relax on the second game? Or do you think it's going to be more of balancing the squad because of that game against Chelsea at the weekend?
Well, first of all, it's a different situation now with the injuries coming up. So the selection are more complex. But at the same time, I think this European Conference is very important to take it very seriously. You know, a lot of people say, oh, let's get out of it and end up taking. No, I'm the opposite. This is potentially that medal we can potentially take in, to be honest with you, in terms of if you assess the overall picture of the team and the depth of the Premier League and the competition in the Premier League. You know, we look at Man United now, and of course Liverpool as well on the weekend. We have a very extreme competitive Premier League contender there, you know. So this European Conference is extremely important and take it very seriously. If I was Nuno, there's no doubt we have to go into with the best possible team to win this game. At the same time, it's also good preparation for the Chelsea game, because I think after the Crystal Palace game, there's no doubt Nuno will be very unhappy with the performance, with the players, and he will have some changes and consequences in certain positions, what he potentially has as available because of the injuries he has, you know. But he will definitely put up a team where will definitely be for the Sunday game already ready, but very, very competitive and go out to win something. The club has to take it very seriously, because I think that's the one that potentially can win, you know. So if I was Nuno, I will go all the way and try to win that game relevant to the Chelsea. Chelsea, we know, is one of the contenders. They are strong, and it's going to be a very good game as well. But I think Tottenham, of course, the injuries now, but if you look at like Manchester City, the first game against big teams like that, I think they come out and perform. I might be wrong potentially, but I think these are the games where Tottenham will come up and show that the real caliber they have, you know, and maybe the players not performing the weekend suddenly perform against these big teams of Chelsea, like they've done against Man City. The attitude was there, the spirit as a team was there, really they worked as a unit, and that's what I liked about the Man City game, to be honest with you. They're really like a unit. And then, of course, we got to Sunday World Class player where sometimes down the season the little kind of runs as well will makes a big difference. But that unity, I have not seen that at Crystal Palace, what we saw against Manchester City. So that they have to come back to that kind of attitude, spirit, fighting spirit, and be unit. Even you're maybe one or two players less in the team, but when you go with the attitude and positive spirit into it as a unit, you can bring another 20-30% out of the performance, and that's been missed against Crystal Palace.
100%. You just want that unity back and that kind of fight for every man who has that shirt on the pitch. And like you said, we definitely missed that against Palace. So Formz, I come to you. Obviously, we've spoken that Ramon said that we're going to go potentially gun home because we need to. Obviously, it's one of those competitions we could possibly win the trophy. So do you think maybe we'll see the introduction of Dane Scarlett on Thursday, or do you think he'll stick with Harry Kane up top?
I mean, I personally think it would be silly to start Harry Kane against Rennes. I think put Dane Scarlett out there, give him a go. Only reason I say that is because you don't want to run any sort of risk of Kane getting injured for a game like Chelsea. And yeah, you can say that this competition is very important to us, and I agree. When we qualified for this competition, I was over the moon. I couldn't wait because I do think it's one of the best chances we will have of winning a trophy in a long time. But I think early stages where you can afford to play youth and you can afford to play your less experienced guys, I think we probably should reserve a couple of solid first team players for the Chelsea game. So yeah, I do think we'll start Scarlett, and I hope we do. And if we don't, so be it. Like it's not the end of the world. But yeah, no, I'd like to see Scarlett start.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see Scarlett. Like we said, obviously that first game against Paco de Ferreira in the first leg, he didn't really utilise him very well because they were always asking for the ball to his feet, whereas he wanted it in behind. So, Finley, do you hope if Dane Scarlett plays that Nuno will be telling the players, look, you need to play it in behind because that's the best way to utilise him?
Oh, definitely. I think I see some people making the point, like we touched on earlier about the point about Kane ghosting at the weekend, but it always comes back to, the service. If you don't give the forward players, if the midfield or the wingers or whoever it might be, don't give, the person who's entrusted with scoring the goals the service, then we're not going to score any goals. It's as simple as that. And, it does depend on team selection or whatever, but somebody out there on Thursday has got to, maybe one of the midfielders will have a little chat with Dane, and Dane might say, oh, do you know what? If he starts, do you know what? Just give it to me in behind. I can, I've got the beating of these defenders, whatever. And I think that's maybe it's definitely what needs to be done, because we saw in pre-season, like whenever Scarlett got the ball in behind, he was always through, he was always wanting it. And even in the pre-season games that I watched, he got the ball in behind quite a lot. And I just think that's just the way he plays. And I know it's easier said than done, but the players have to adapt to having, different players playing in different styles of games and whatnot. But you can tell that's how Dane likes to play, and if he's gonna be the one entrusted with getting us the goals, then we do have to give him the correct service. Otherwise, he's just not going to score any.
100%. I mean, it's been great to talk to you all, but I just want to kind of get your kind of match predictions. I know it's pretty long-winded, but obviously for both the conference game and the Chelsea game, which I think for me being the first game back to the lane is going to be a fabulous one. Either way, whether the atmosphere is going to be great, I'm not too sure about the scoreline though. But nevertheless, Ramon, I'll come to you first. For the conference game, what's your kind of predictions, and for the Chelsea game?
Well, the conference call, I think, going back in terms of when the first game they played, and everybody was astounded, wow, what kind of team actually Nuno selected at the time, Some potentially would not get into the first team straight away when he didn't play at Manchester City. I think what Nuno was trying to do in these games, especially against the Portuguese sides at the time, was a good point to come out with the youngsters to see the depth of his squad he has in terms of, like we now having, injuries, which one he can count into it in some international games like the European conferences. And I think that game showed a lot of data for him, for which one he can actually count into it. And I think some of them will definitely come up again and play next week. With, of course, a mixture of potential Harry Kane coming in. Maybe it's good to rest him for half time, and it's a good time to give the youngsters a good run as well in the same time. And just having also just Harry Kane on the bench, that gives the confidence that he's coming in the second half or the last 30 minutes will be also enough as well, Again, but he has to come in with seriousness and competitive squad, because you need to take it seriously. Now, I think if they win 1-0, I think we'll be very happy.
I think we'd all be very happy, to be honest, after that Palace game. I think getting a 1-0 win, I'll take it, regardless of who the opposition is.
Game, you can't take it too bad. The Palace game, I think we played 3 games in a row. We all were the moon, and everybody was jumping up and down because we were top of the league. And to be honest, we had fantastic games. These 3 games were very good, you know. Now we out of 4-1 was, I would say, very bad. Let's call it. Okay, I can accept that. If it was all 4 very bad, we'll be sitting here and having a completely different conversation. Look at the Arsenal fans, you know. I feel sorry, but that's what these guys are talking now. We are they're the bottom, we are the top. So completely different conversation. So we should be happy what we already achieved so far, and we got 9 points in our pocket. You know, let's move forward to the next game. And I think Nuno on the team definitely knows, and I see that should have now a reaction, and Chelsea is the best team to give a reaction against that Crystal Palace.
Fair enough. I think that the Rennes game, I mean, it all depends on who we play in both these games. I predict 3-1 against Rennes. I think they're a decent, relatively decent French side, and I think they could potentially hit us on a dangerous counter or something like that, and I can see us conceding. So I'm going to go 3-1 against Rennes. Chelsea, God, do you want my prediction or do you want what I want? Because I'd love us to win 5-0, but I think we're gonna. It's either going to be one of those games that we draw 2-2, or it's going to be one of those games where we actually fight for it, and it will swing 1-0 either way. And I'm saying that as a very biased Spurs fan because, deep inside my mind, I think we're going to lose. But I have to be positive, and I'm going to either go 2-2 or I'm going to go 1-0 to the Spurs.
I like it, Formz.
It's only only a fan supporter can say that. Yeah. In the back of my mind, we lost already, but I have to be positive. You know,
that's the one.
Exactly.
I normally say it with my vodka in the end.
Just be confident. We win.
Yeah,
not
true. True. We'll win it. We'll win it.
That's it. You win it.
Right. Finley, after that, you've got to say we've got to win it. What's your prediction?
I think we'll win both of them. I think for Rennes, like Formz said, it kind of depends on the team selection and whatever. I mean, I'm not going to pretend to be some sort of French football aficionado because I'm not, but I know they're missing Jeremy Doku, who lit up the Euros for Belgium. I read somewhere the other week that he's injured. He missed the game at the weekend, I think, and I think it said at the time of writing he was potentially going to miss the Spurs game. And obviously the other key player was Camavinga, who left in the summer and bagged for Real Madrid last night. So I feel like they're one of the teams where obviously, nobody in that competition we can turn up and have the arrogance and go, we're gonna turn these over, as we saw, numerous times last season in the Europa League and then just this season against Pacos in the first leg. I think if we play a strong enough team, I think we should be able to do the job. But I'll go 2-0, but I feel like it won't be an easy 2-0. And as for Chelsea, I think as Hollie, as you're unlucky for you sitting next to me for that game, I'm gonna say I feel like if you offered me a draw now, I would snap your hand off. To be honest, I think just with the way Chelsea are at the minute, and you just see them against Aston Villa. And, Lukaku I read the stat earlier about Lukaku, he had his 2 goals he scored, the combined XG was 0.05. So you know how, he's the clinical player that they were missing. And you just know if you give him an inch of space, he's most likely going to cause us a lot of trouble. But I think if we're up for it, form goes out the window in a derby. And I always go back to the City game where, nobody gave us a chance. And we, look what happened. So I think if you offer me a draw, I'll snap your hand off. But I feel like something inside me is telling me we might pull off a shock.
Go on. Love it.
I like
Lock it in.
Come on, Finley. I want that hand delivered by DHL.
Well, we're going to deliver a shock. I reckon we could nick it 1-0.
Nice.
Whoa.
I'll take it. Love it.
We
One of my best mates is a Chelsea fan, so he's going to clip this up now and ruin me on Sunday when we lose. So that's not good.
Well, I got my roast ready. I'll tell you that now.
No, I'm telling you right now, we need to win. Otherwise, I'm going to have a depressing birthday. And Finley, you're going to have to put up with me like moaning and groaning literally on the way back to the train station. I'll be fuming. I'll be livid. But hey, every time I've watched a Tottenham game, Harry Winks has become Wink and Esther. So I'm just saying, if Winks turns up on the day and he's playing, you never know. The good luck omen's there. But we'll have to wait and see. I'm not too sure about that. But I want to say thank you both. Before we go, actually, Space Bar Gamer has said, Ramon, that he thinks your kitchen is behind them with a fridge behind your special bookshelf behind you. Can you allude to whether that's right or not?
No. It's just solid. There's no hidden agenda. There's no 007 behind.
No,
that,
it looks like a door. It does in the middle.
It does
looks
actually.
Like a door.
Does it really?
Is that your bat cave behind there? Is that where you keep your Spurs medal? Brilliant.
So
I love
no
it.
door. It's fixed. It's proper. It's proper, you know. But my fridge is just around the corner because I got my red one here. It's very important. So, Mr. Space Bar Gamer or Gamer, whatever he's called. What do you pronounce it? Space Bar
Space
Gamer?
Bar Gamer.
Who is that? Space Bar Gamer. That's a great name. I love it already. Oh, good. He's definitely Space Cadet. I'll tell you that now.
I mean, my good mate Chris, who I think might be related to me because he's got an awesome surname, has said that Raymond is the new Batman. I mean, I'll take it, Ramon. I'll take that.
All day long. See what the show all makes. I'm totally a Batman. Goodness me.
I love it. Thank you, all of you, for joining. Thanks to the people in the chat. It's been class. I just want to go around the room and say our goodbyes and where we can find each other on our social media and stuff. So, Formz, I'll start with you. Where can we find you and what kind of things do you do?
I'm a rapper. I make sick music. And if you want to hear the bars, type that name into anything. Spotify, Apple Music, SoundCloud, YouTube. These are squeezing all of it. Just Formz everywhere. TikTok, Instagram. You already know. I'll be there.
The rapper COYS.
The wine's hit, hasn't it, Ramon? The wine's definitely kicked in.
We are on the way.
We've been going an hour. You can tell it's hitting.
Go for it, Formzy. Go for it, Formzy. Give me one. Give me one. Go.
No, it's all. Look, if you want to listen to the music, you know where to find me.
Ramon wanted a sick beat right there, man. He wanted you to rap over the top of his beat.
Go for it, man. Give a show, man. Come on, we're here for that. You're a rapper.
He doesn't do it on the spot. You can tell.
Look, I wouldn't. No, I love a freestyle, me, but he's mixing it. I need to drink what you're drinking, my friend.
He's running. He's rolling. Come on, mate. Go for it.
No, look, you'll hear it next time. Next time Hollie does a show, you will hear it as the intro, because I've promised her that I will make her a little intro, and that is exactly what I'm in the middle of doing.
Hollie, you're blessed already, huh? You've got an entrance.
I
know. For you. See? What can you do?
I mean, a Formz rap and a win against Chelsea at the weekend. I mean, my birthday's made. I mean, what more
There we go.
From red one. Cheers, mate.
Cheers. Hang on, I'm gonna. Cheers.
I'm surprised you still got any of that left after Saturday, mate. To be honest.
There.
Finley, where can we all find you, man?
Just on Twitter, you just whack in Finley Trung or Finley THFC Turner. Just basically moan about Spurs all the time, or plug the bits of football writing that I do because I want to be a sports journalist. So if you're into any of that, just plug it in and you'll find it all there.
Sweet,
Good luck, Finley.
And
yes.
Well, you don't ask me where to find me.
I thought I might, I thought I'd just put it out there. I'm so used to asking everyone. Not when I've got a pro on the channel.
I don't really care, to be honest with you. Whoever wants me finds me. If not,
and if we can't find you, it's because you're hiding behind the bookshelf.
Exactly.
He's got a secret wine stash behind the bookshelf. Only he knows it's there.
No, that's the different question, mate. That's a different question, mate.
Oh dear, but thank you all of you for joining me tonight. It's been class. I just wish we had a win to talk about, but in actual fact, I think it's been good therapy, so I'll take that. And thanks to everyone else in the chat as well. Until next time, come on you Spurs.
See you later.